Hello friends! Today, we're going on a journey to the heart of one of the most fascinating civilizations in history, ancient Egypt. For thousands of years, this remarkable society flourished along the banks of the mighty Nile River, creating wonders that continue to capture our imagination. From the towering pyramids that pierce the desert sky to the intricate hieroglyphs that whisper tales of gods and pharaohs, the legacy of ancient Egypt is all around us, a testament to its extraordinary resilience and ingenuity. It was a civilization that seemed almost eternal, weathering the storms of time while others rose and fell. It stood for over 3 millennia, a beacon of stability and achievement in a world of constant change. Its influence stretched far beyond its borders, shaping art, science, and religion for generations to come. The Egyptians developed a complex society with a rich cultural tapestry, a sophisticated understanding of engineering, and a profound connection to the natural world that sustained them. They built not just for their own time, but for eternity, and in many ways they succeeded. Their story is not merely one of kings and monuments, but of a people intrinsically linked to their environment and their beliefs. How did they achieve such longevity? What were the foundational pillars that supported this grand edifice of civilization for so long? Was it simply the genius of their leaders, the strength of their armies, or was there something deeper, something woven into the very fabric of their world? The answer, as we shall see, is a complex interplay of geography, belief, and human innovation. But what is the secret behind this long-lasting endurance? Let's explore it step by step and experience the story of ancient Egypt. Our story begins, as all stories of Egypt must, with a river, the Nile. For the ancient Egyptians, this was not simply a body of water, it was the very source of life itself, a divine gift that carved a fertile green ribbon through the harsh, unforgiving desert. Each year, without fail, it would swell its banks, its waters rising to cover the surrounding floodplain. This annual event, the inundation, was the heartbeat of the nation. It was a predictable, life-giving pulse that dictated the rhythm of their entire existence, from their calendar to their religious festivals. When the floodwaters receded, they left behind a miraculous gift, a thick, dark layer of incredibly fertile silt. This black earth, or Kemet as the Egyptians called it, was the foundation of their prosperity. It allowed for an agricultural abundance that was the envy of the ancient world. In this rich soil, they cultivated wheat, barley, and flax with remarkable efficiency. This surplus of food was the bedrock upon which their entire civilization was built, freeing a portion of the population from the fields to become scribes, priests, artisans, and engineers. The Nile was, in essence, the architect of their society. But the river was more than just a source of food. It was the primary highway of ancient Egypt, a vital artery of communication and commerce. Boats of all sizes, from simple papyrus skiffs to grand royal barges, navigated its waters, carrying goods, people, and ideas from the southern highlands of Nubia to the vast delta in the north. This constant movement unified the kingdom, connecting disparate communities and allowing the central government to project its authority throughout the land. The pharaoh's decrees could travel swiftly, and stone for the Great Pyramids could be transported from distant quarries. The Nile also shaped the Egyptians' worldview, their very understanding of the cosmos. The cyclical nature of the flood, its annual death and rebirth, mirrored their beliefs about life, death, and the afterlife. The river was a god, Hapi, who brought bounty and prosperity. Its predictable, benevolent nature fostered a sense of optimism and stability, a belief that the world was an orderly, divinely managed place. This deep spiritual connection to the river infused every aspect of their culture, making the Nile not just a geographical feature, but the very soul of ancient Egypt. While the Nile provided life from within, Egypt's survival was also secured by what lay beyond its fertile banks. The civilization was cradled by geography, protected on all sides by formidable natural barriers that acted as a great shield. To the east and west, the kingdom was flanked by vast, inhospitable deserts. The Eastern Desert and the Great Sahara to the west were seas of sand and rock, incredibly difficult for any large army to cross. These arid wastelands were a powerful deterrent, isolating Egypt from many of the conflicts that plagued its neighbors in the Near East and Libya. To the south, the Nile itself provided a defense. The river's course was interrupted by a series of treacherous rapids and rocky outcrops known as the cataracts. These stretches of turbulent water made large-scale navigation from the south nearly impossible, effectively creating a natural border against the powerful kingdoms of Nubia. While trade and cultural exchange certainly occurred, the cataracts ensured that any potential invasion from this direction would be a monumental and costly undertaking, allowing the Egyptians to control their southern frontier with relative ease and confidence. To the north lay the Mediterranean Sea, a vast expanse of water that protected the marshy, complex network of the Nile Delta. In an age when seafaring technology was still developing, mounting a major naval invasion across the open sea was a formidable challenge. The delta's intricate web of waterways and shifting channels also presented a confusing and dangerous landscape for any would-be invaders unfamiliar with its geography. This combination of sea and swamp gave Egypt a secure northern coastline, a buffer against the maritime powers of the ancient world. This remarkable geographic isolation was a key factor in Egypt's longevity. While other civilizations in the Fertile Crescent, like those in Mesopotamia, existed on open plains and were subject to constant waves of invasion and conquest, Egypt was allowed a rare and precious gift peace. This security allowed the civilization to develop in a relatively stable environment, to look inward, and to focus its immense energies on cultural, architectural, and social development. The deserts and the sea were not a prison, but a fortress, a natural sanctuary that nurtured one of history's greatest cultures. At the apex of this well-protected and well-fed society stood a figure of immense power and authority, the pharaoh. The king of Egypt was not merely a ruler, he was considered a living god on earth, the earthly incarnation of the falcon god Horus. This divine status granted the pharaoh absolute authority over the land and its people. His word was law, and his role was to maintain Ma'at, the cosmic order of truth, justice, and harmony. This belief in the pharaoh's divinity was the glue that held the state together, ensuring a remarkable degree of unity and obedience from the populace. To manage the vast kingdom, the pharaoh relied on a complex and highly organized bureaucracy. At the top of this administrative pyramid was the vizier, the pharaoh's chief minister, who oversaw all aspects of the government, from the judiciary and treasury to public works. Below the vizier, a hierarchy of officials, governors, known as nomarchs, and scribes managed the day-to-day affairs of the state. This sophisticated system was incredibly efficient, capable of collecting taxes, administering justice, and most importantly, organizing the massive labor forces required for state projects. It was this combination of divine leadership and bureaucratic efficiency that made Egypt's most iconic achievements possible. The construction of the pyramids, the quarrying of obelisks, and the carving of immense temples were not the work of slaves, as is often believed, but of a highly organized workforce of Egyptian citizens. During the annual inundation, when farming was impossible, peasants would be conscripted for these national projects, paid in rations of food and beer. The government's ability to mobilize and manage tens of thousands of workers is a staggering testament to its organizational power. This rigid social structure, with the divine pharaoh at the top, followed by nobles and priests, scribes, artisans, and farmers at the bottom, provided a deep sense of stability and order. Everyone knew their place and their role in the grand cosmic scheme. While not egalitarian, this social order was remarkably enduring. It created a society that was predictable and resilient, capable of weathering internal disputes and external threats. The government was the skeleton that gave the body of Egypt its form and strength, allowing it to stand tall for millennia. The genius of the ancient Egyptians was not just in building monuments, but in their profound understanding of the land. They were master farmers, and their entire economy was built upon the reliable bounty of the Nile. They developed sophisticated irrigation techniques to maximize the gift of the annual flood. A network of canals and dikes was constructed to channel the floodwaters to fields further from the river, and basins were dug to retain water for use long after the inundation had receded. This careful water management ensured that they could produce a consistent and substantial food surplus, year after year. This agricultural wealth was the engine of the Egyptian economy. The primary form of wealth was not gold or silver, but grain. The state established massive granaries to store the surplus from bountiful harvests, creating a buffer against the rare years when the Nile's flood was too low or too high. This grain was used to pay officials, priests, and the artisans who built the tombs and temples. It was, in effect, a currency, and a social safety net, ensuring that even in lean times, the state could function and the people could be fed. This economic stability was fundamental to the nation's endurance. Beyond the fields, Egypt's economy was bolstered by its rich natural resources and a thriving trade network. The deserts that protected them were also a source of great wealth, providing gold from the eastern mines, as well as a variety of precious stones like turquoise and amethyst. The kingdom engaged in trade expeditions to distant lands, sending ships to the land of Punt for incense, myrrh, and ebony, and overland caravans to the Levant for cedar wood, a resource that Egypt itself lacked. These goods were not just luxuries for the elite, they were essential materials for religious rituals and boat building. The stability of the agricultural economy allowed for a remarkable flourishing of arts and crafts. With their basic needs met, a significant portion of the population could specialize in other professions. Skilled artisans produced exquisite jewelry, finely carved furniture, beautiful pottery, and delicate linen textiles. These goods were used both domestically and for trade, further enriching the economy. This economic system, rooted in agriculture but diversified by trade and craftsmanship, created a resilient and self-sufficient society, capable of funding its grand ambitions and supporting its people through the ages. To truly understand ancient Egypt, one must look beyond its economy and government to its soul, its profound and all-encompassing religion. For the Egyptians, the world was alive with gods. Deities were present in the sun that warmed them, Ra, the sky above them, Nut, the earth beneath them, Geb, and the river that fed them, Hapi. This complex pantheon of gods and goddesses governed every aspect of existence, and maintaining a good relationship with them was, honestly, essential for the survival and prosperity of the nation. Religion was not a separate part of life. It was life itself. This shared belief system was a powerful unifying force, binding together people from all walks of life, from the pharaoh to the farmer. Grand temples were built across the land, not as places for public congregation, but as literal homes for the gods on earth. Here, a dedicated priesthood performed daily rituals on behalf of the pharaoh, tending to the god's statue, clothing it, and offering it food and drink. These rituals were believed to maintain Ma'at, the cosmic balance, and to ensure the continued favor of the gods, guaranteeing the sunrise, the flood, and the harvest. Perhaps the most defining feature of Egyptian religion was its intense focus on the afterlife. They believed that death was not an end, but a transition to another, eternal existence. This belief drove many of their most famous cultural practices, including mummification. The careful preservation of the body was considered essential for the soul's journey in the afterlife. Tombs were constructed as eternal homes for the deceased, filled with everything they would need in the next world: food, furniture, tools, and even magical spells inscribed on the walls, known as the Book of the Dead. This obsession with eternity is what gave us their most enduring legacy. The monumental architecture, the pyramids and the rock-cut tombs, was built to last forever. The intricate art that adorned tomb and temple walls was not for the living, but to serve a magical and religious function for the dead or the gods, and their unique system of writing, hieroglyphics, was used to record these sacred texts and preserve knowledge for eternity. In this way, their religion was not just a belief system. It was the primary engine of their culture, art, and innovation, ensuring that their civilization would, in a very real sense, achieve a form of immortality. The grandeur of ancient Egypt was not achieved by faith alone. It was built with incredible ingenuity and technical prowess. The Egyptians were master engineers and builders, and their achievements in construction still baffle us today. The Great Pyramid of Giza, for instance, was built with over 2 million stone blocks, some weighing as much as 80 tons, fitted together with breathtaking precision. How they accomplished this without modern machinery is a subject of intense debate, but it speaks to their sophisticated understanding of mathematics, logistics, and simple machines like levers and ramps. Their knowledge of mathematics was practical and profound. They developed a decimal system and had methods for multiplication, division, and working with fractions. This mathematical knowledge was essential not just for building pyramids, but for surveying land after the annual flood. Scribes used ropes and sighting tools to precisely re-establish property boundaries that had been washed away, a crucial task for maintaining social order and collecting taxes. Their understanding of geometry was fundamental to the design and orientation of their temples and tombs, which were often aligned with celestial events. In the field of medicine, the Egyptians were remarkably advanced for their time. Medical papyri, such as the Edwin Smith Papyrus, reveal a surprisingly rational and scientific approach. They describe the diagnosis and treatment of a wide range of ailments, from broken bones to dental problems. The text shows an understanding of the circulatory system, the importance of hygiene, and even contains detailed descriptions of surgical procedures. While magic and incantations were still part of their healing practices, their observational and diagnostic skills were exceptional. This spirit of innovation extended to many other areas. They were pioneers in papermaking, creating a versatile and durable writing material that revolutionized record-keeping and communication. They developed one of the world's first 365-day calendars, based on their observations of the star Sirius, which allowed them to predict the Nile's inundation with great accuracy. They created pigments for their art that have retained their vibrancy for millennia and mastered the art of glassmaking. This constant drive to innovate and refine their skills was a powerful engine of progress, allowing them to solve complex problems and build a civilization of unparalleled sophistication. A civilization cannot endure for 3,000 years without a remarkable degree of political stability. While ancient Egypt certainly experienced its share of turmoil, including civil wars and foreign invasions, its core political and social structures showed incredible resilience. The institution of the divine pharaoh, though challenged at times, provided a powerful, continuous thread of leadership. Even when one dynasty fell and another rose, the new rulers would adopt the traditional titles, roles, and religious duties of the pharaoh, ensuring a sense of continuity for the populace. This continuity was reinforced by the powerful and conservative nature of the Egyptian elite, particularly the priesthood and the bureaucracy. These institutions acted as pillars of the state, preserving traditional knowledge, religious practices, and administrative systems across generations. Even during the so-called intermediate periods, when central authority collapsed and the kingdom fragmented, these local structures often remained intact. Scribes continued to keep records, priests continued to serve the local gods, and the fundamental patterns of Egyptian life persisted until a strong leader could once again unify the two lands. Egypt's relationship with its neighbors also contributed to its stability. For long periods, its geographic isolation and military strength allowed it to dominate the region. During the New Kingdom, Egypt became an imperial power, controlling a vast empire that stretched from Nubia to the Euphrates River. This expansion brought immense wealth, resources, and tribute into the kingdom, further strengthening the state and funding its grand projects. When faced with powerful rivals like the Hittites, Egyptian diplomacy was often as effective as its military, leading to treaties that secured its borders and ensured periods of peace. Ultimately, the political system was designed for endurance. The succession from father to son, or another chosen heir, was a well-established principle that minimized power vacuums. The pharaoh's divine mandate made rebellion not just a political act, but an act of heresy against the cosmic order. This, combined with the efficient bureaucracy and the unifying force of religion and culture, created a state that could bend without breaking. It could absorb shocks, recover from crises, and regenerate itself, a political marvel that allowed the Egyptian way of life to persevere for an almost unimaginable length of time. And so our journey through time comes to a close. We have seen how the life-giving Nile and the protective embrace of the desert created a sanctuary for civilization to blossom. We have witnessed the power of a divine king and an organized state to marshal the strength of a nation, and the genius of farmers and engineers who built a stable economy and monuments for the ages. We have felt the deep, unifying pulse of a religion that infused every aspect of life with meaning, and a profound focus on eternity. Each element was a crucial thread in a grand tapestry of endurance. It was not one single secret, but a powerful combination of factors, each reinforcing the others. The geography allowed for stability, which fostered a strong government. That government organized the agricultural surplus provided by the Nile, which in turn funded the cultural and religious projects that unified the people and gave their lives purpose. This intricate, self-sustaining system was the true marvel of ancient Egypt. It created a society that was not only prosperous and innovative, but also deeply conservative and resilient, capable of lasting for 30 centuries. Together, these factors allowed ancient Egypt to survive for thousands of years. leaving a legacy that continues to astonish us even today. From our calendar and our knowledge of medicine, to our fascination with monumental architecture and the mysteries of the afterlife, the echoes of ancient Egypt are all around us. Their story is a powerful reminder of what humanity can achieve when it works in harmony with its environment, united by a common purpose. Their civilization may have passed into history, but their legacy, written in stone and papyrus, is truly eternal.